Chase Sexton, things have changed a little bit in the championship hunt this weekend, of course, as it's been announced that Jet will be out for the season. It was kind of a three-way battle between yourself, Jet, and Hunter. You know both of them very well, how they race, what their strengths are, what their negatives are. Now that it's down to kind of just racing Hunter in a sense for the championship, does it change the way you go about your races? I know it doesn't change the midweek prep, but do you change your tactics knowing, his positive and negatives?
No, not really. I was really bummed to see Jet going out with a practice crash. That's kind of, you don't want to see that, and I want to race him for this championship. So obviously Hunter's there as well, but I wanted both of them. So it was a bummer, but yeah, racing goes on. That's part of it. I've dealt with my fair share. So yeah, now just kind of keep the focus going and try and win as many motos as I can. This is home race for me, so looking forward to that. But yeah, nothing really changes on my part. Just go out there, get good starts, and make it happen.
So last week on his debut on the broadcast, MC and Cirello, they were talking a segment about you, and he was talking about some of the challenges as a racer if you're in a point in the season when you're changing the bike a lot, where you're trying to get to versus sometimes just having to take a step back and ride something that is close to what you want, but not quite there, just so you can ride consistently and learn to trust it. We know that you've talked a lot about making a lot of improvements on the KTM this year. What point are we at right now in outdoors? Have you kind of been able to leave it alone and be able to just work every week, or are we still chasing a little bit?
Yeah, we've kind of been leaving it alone. I mean, for the most part, we make little changes, clicker adjustments, but nothing big. More just kind of fine-tuning. So right now I'm kind of just, working with what I have and trying to make the most of it. And last weekend was okay. I felt okay on the bike, but I couldn't really go as fast as I wanted to, so kind of made some adjustments this week, and now, we'll see what we got this weekend.
The last couple of rounds, your first motos versus your second motos, we've seen a lot of improvement in second moto, a lot of explosive nature from you early out of the gate. What does that come down to between Moto 1 and 2? Do you make a couple of adjustments, or is it you just kind of settle in for the day? Or
Yeah, we're really just adjusting for the second moto, honestly, after the first. So this weekend, hopefully we can kind of start off on the right foot, get off to a good first moto, and then try and do the same for the second moto. We're giving up too many points Moto 1 and then making them back Moto 2, but you kind of want to be gaining points every moto, not losing any. So that's kind of the game plan. Just go out there, be aggressive first moto, and see where we're at, and not have to make them all up in the second moto.
Last one for you, starts. Your starts have been more consistent lately, the last couple motos. Anything really changed, whether it's bike or personal preference of how you do your starts?
No, nothing's really changed. Honestly, my starts have been super mediocre, but I've been able to make them work. So
yeah,
if I can just get off in the top 5, I'm happy with that.
So you still don't feel like your jumps are really good, it's just you're making good use of the first corner in your first couple decisions?
My jumps don't feel bad. It's more like the middle part of the straightaway. I feel like I'm getting a little bit pulled down the straightaway. Mm-hmm. So we're going to make some adjustments this weekend, try and at least match them in the straightaways, and then my jumps have been pretty good. So I just work on that. But overall, a whole shot would be nice, but I can work with top 5 and top 3. It's good.
Kyle Webster, week 2 here in the USA, doing Southwick and RedBud with the Firepower Honda team, although I see you have a bit of extra support from Mobile X.
Yep.
Why come do the 2 rounds? I know you guys have a decent break in your schedule, but what was the main motivation?
I just think these two are pretty iconic races, and it lined up really well, like you said, with our break at home. So I think we were just sort of in a good position at home, riding pretty well, and it just felt like the right time to come and try and do this, and I guess see where we stack up with everybody else.
I feel like I think of yourself, Dean Ferris, a few guys in Australia, a couple guys in Canada, but definitely have the skills to pay the bills on the international level, but the ability to make a full-time push has just kind of not worked out. I think you proved it last week. Like, you have, again, the skills to pay the bills. At the point you are in your career, is something like this an opportunity for you to maybe show to still get that chance, or are you kind of at the point, like, settled into your position, you just do these races purely for, experience?
If the opportunity arose, it'd be hard to say no to. So I know I'm getting a little bit older and whatnot, but I think the only way to sort of see if that opportunity will ever come up is by coming and do these one-off races. So either way, if I get the chance to come and do these more often, I'm stoked, and if it does become something that can become full-time, I'd be really happy with that as well. So it's really cool either way to me, to be honest.
We got the Motocross of Nations announcement this week for Team Australia. We'd heard about very, very weird timing, of course, with, hey, here's the team, but Jet's hurt.
Yeah,
but Jen Hunter on 450s, yourself on 250. We had a kind of a discussion about this this week on one of our podcasts, myself and Lewis. It's a tough one because Jen Hunter both are very shortly off a 250. They could ride a factory 250, but I understand both their positions of wanting to show what they can do against the world off 450. You're racing a 450, but you'll be dropping down. What was that discussion like?
Honestly, I've ridden a 250 over the years a couple times. Like I raced one in 2021, so it wasn't a lifetime ago. But I think I'm open to it. Obviously, those two boys are in the best form you can be in at the moment. So if they think they're going to get the best points for Australia on their bikes at the moment, then I'm all for it. Do you know what I mean? So I just think it's going to be a bit of a challenge to get used to a 250 again and whatnot. But I've got plenty of time after our last race, and I think I'll get a bit of time to go over there and ride with them and do a bit of training with them to get used to it, so it'll be nice.
Is there an opportunity to get a gate drop on a 250 that you're aware? Like, is there anywhere you could get a race or two in on one, or are you going to pretty much come in pretty raw?
I don't think so. I don't think there'll be a race that I'll be able to do on the 250 prior to it, especially not at home with our schedule.
Other one we heard rumor-wise, so I believe is, of course, your team's fully behind you, but I believe, with the Lawrence's ties with HRC, with the Lawrence's ties with the HRC team, I think we had heard, there's a good chance that you might end up with a pretty decent a little extra help on the 250 side, I should say. Do you got a little secret weapon?
Well, I hope so. I think they're working on it, so that'll be really nice if that's the case, but I do hope so because that'd be pretty cool.
How many Starbucks gift cards have you bought for Lars and all the guys over there yet?
No, it's going to have to be a few before I go home.
A few of those. Goals for RedBud. What would make you happy to go home with?
2 solid motos. I think Southwick, it was good. It was good to learn everything and whatnot and see how everything works over here. And obviously the first race I went down the first turn. But I think now that I've done a weekend, I feel a bit more comfortable with everything and know how it all runs. So I'd like to say just 2 top 10s would be nice to go home with. And if I can push further up than what I did at Southwick and be a little bit more in the fight, I'd be really happy with that.
Actually, one more last one I thought was weird. I was talking to Reeve about this, and something we overlook very easily here in America is, hey, you guys are racing outdoors in Australia right now. It's not that different for you. It's also your guys' winter time. I mean, You've been lucky. The two nationals you're racing here are not terribly hot, but it's not hot at home right now. Yeah, not at the moment. Our last national was near on like 1, 2, 3 degrees in the morning, so it was cold. But it's nice. I mean, luckily it's not as hot as what it has been here in the past from what I've heard, so otherwise that would have been a real shock. But it's still pretty warm, and just the humidity is something that we don't really get too much at home. Phil, we're winding down the final year.
Yep.
How's that feel? I've talked to a few riders that talk about, as you get towards the end of your career, even your last year, or once you retire, that kind of fear of missing out potentially for next year. Are you still settled or with the decision, or do you start to feel the fear of missing out?
I think I'll miss the fear of missing out, but I'm still going to be riding next year and racing. It's not like I'm not riding a dirt bike, but will I miss the rush of a Saturday? For sure, but I still plan on racing, doing other events too, so I'll still get the fix. I'm just over the grind during the week, getting ready to race on Saturday for an AMA National. So, and the injuries just play toll on that, you know what I mean? So my body's hurting nowadays, and I'm over that point, trying to recover for week after week. So, but I'll miss it, yeah, of course. It's a no-brainer.
As we're winding down, I mean, your results have been getting better week after week. Do you have a personal goal you'd like to end the season with that you would be pretty satisfied with?
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to be top 10 overall, which I've done many times, and obviously missing that Moto in Hangtown and missing Colorado kind of shot myself in the foot a bit. But I'd like to be top 10 in points. I'd like to move closer to the 6-7 range if I can, because right now I've been an 8, 9, 10 guy every moto except for High Point, obviously. But if I can do that, I think I'll be pretty happy.
I know you have we see a lot of funny posts during the week, people you mess with in the pits, people that mess with you. Mm-hmm. Name the 3 people you're going to miss the most seeing every single weekend.
I don't know. I guess that's kind of hard. There's some guys I really don't like in the paddock, but 95% of them I'm okay with. A lot of the riders, over the years, I don't know. That's kind of hard because there's a lot of guys that I, bullshit around with are getting older too, so they're not going to be around much longer. But the young kids, they all have a pretty good sense of humor, and it's good to see a lot of different personalities start to come into the sport. Everyone's not such a fucking stickler anymore, so yeah, I'll miss them all actually. So don't tell them that though.
I mostly think of Jade and Frankie, you guys messing around. I'm gonna miss the memes of the stories.
Yeah, I know. Jade's definitely a ball buster, but I mean Frankie, Jade, and Carlos, like they're awesome guys. So I'm friends with a lot of guys from all the different manufacturers, so it's hard just to pick one. But it's cool to get the respect from them as I give to them. So it's it just takes years and years of getting there. So which is cool.
What is your dream scenario after racing? Like, what next couple years? What is it you really would like to do?
Obviously, I'd like to kind of turn into more of a corporate type guy a little bit. You know, obviously my personality might not blend with the corporate side of things, but it's no secret that FXR's treated me very well. I like that group as well. They treat me very good, and I like to, I'm going to stay with them and still working on another little piece to the puzzle that I want to do. So I kind of want two things to be able to, where I can ride and race some for next year. So, but eventually the riding side of things, like I still have value riding Supercross and outdoors. Like I'll still have that for another 3 years, speed and stuff. So put that towards something.
I would say maybe some testing, some OEM testing.
I'd like to, yeah.
Your skills, I mean, I know you help a couple guys. What about how likely do we see a little agent work thrown in there? Show Lucas how it's really done.
See, it's actually kind of funny. I was counting the amount of agents we have in our sport. We got like 18 of them versus how many factory rides there actually are available and how much these agents can actually make off a rider, and it doesn't make any sense to me. Like, we have a lot of agents for the Paddock, so none of that adds up to me. But no, I'm out. If a kid needs help or talking to somebody or I'll vouch for somebody, yeah, no problem. But as far as doing stuff, I'm out. I'll leave that to Lucas and shit. So.
Broc, Tickle, welcome back to the races. I would say your hometown race, but Parabinos, a lot of people have been giving everybody media crap for saying hometown race, considering you're from North Carolina.
Yeah, I was born and raised in North Carolina. My past brought me here, and now I'm born and raised North Carolina full time. So I live in California now since I turned pro. So.
Yeah. How'd this opportunity come back? I mean, you've been testing now for Kawasaki for a little over 2 years. I know you've talked about wanting to do this before, but what finally got you guys to pull the trigger on getting you behind the gate?
With the development of this new 24 bike starting, a couple of years ago now, my flight we went to Japan and helped with the initial and ending development of this bike with Taka and the crew over there. We've made a lot of progress over the last bit of time, and for me, I haven't raced since 21. Feel like I've been riding a lot this year to help develop this bike, and honestly, I wanted to race the bike in race conditions and see what comes of it. For myself, obviously, there are some goals and things, but to be honest, I think I'm going to separate my performance versus the bike's performance for these two races here and use it to our advantage.
What do you show up for a setup? I mean, you've got Jason on the team, so are you racing Jason's setup for feedback, or do you run something that is kind of like you guys would wonder how it would work in race condition? What do you show up with?
Jason and I's bike are very similar, so I mean that's pretty much what it is. I mean, I have a couple things that are different, but that's it.
Yeah, I noticed head pipes, so you guys are probably a little bit different on your mapping or something.
Yeah, overall there is not much difference between our bikes. And for me, I think as we've rode different places, we came to Club MX, which helped us develop the bike even more. And we went there twice and actually made a lot of improvements. So coming here, I think it's only going to set us up to make more improvements. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
I know, of course, you are here to do a job, but there's still the racer side of you. What would you be satisfied with? What do you want to walk away here with a result?
To be honest, there's no number on it. To be honest, I know if I execute 100% for myself and perform at my highest level, I'll be satisfied. And that has no number on it to me. That's a feeling, and it's based off how I feel.
One other one, I mentioned this to Nicoletti. I've heard a lot of riders that are, near the end of their career or basically have ended their career talk about the fear of missing out, that feeling of like waking up going, holy crap, I'm going to miss the race this week, and just feeling like you're not involved. How comfortable have you been in that transition for you? Was it hard? Do you ever get that feeling still, or has it not been too bad of a transition for you?
To be honest, since I've been involved with Kawasaki, I slid right over. And the first 2 years I was at Kawasaki, I went to every single race. So I was part of it, you know. And the results were through the team, and I lived through that, doing whatever we could to improve those. And now that I'm here, I've been on the other side of the fence now for almost 3 years now. So for me, it's unique, you know. I get to see a side that most people don't get to see, and I get to come back and learn from some mistakes I even made racing, you know.
One of those easy ones. Look back, if I only knew what I knew, then I know now.
Yes, exactly. And just the perspective, honestly, sometimes you don't see the perspective on the other side of the fence until you're there.
Yeah.
So for me, it's cool to experience that, and it's been great being on the other side of the fence. And now I'm playing both fences. So for me, just going to go out, do my job, and do as well as we can.
I feel like a common topic these days is amateur to pro transition. Everybody's trying different stuff. We have the combines here today, which you competed in last year. You have Drew Adams up doing Canada. We have Supercross Futures. We have more and more avenues for amateurs to get ready. And phenoms such as Jet or Hayden, I think, sometimes skew our perspective on what amateurs should be able to do when they come pro. So you're somebody that's come through the latest farm system of having more of these tools. Still tell me, how tough is the transition, and what's it been like compared to what you thought?
Yeah, I mean, it's a whole different ball game when you get out there with the best there is. I mean, when you're in an amateur race, you get a bad start, you can be in 20th. I mean, the guys back there are not as skilled as the guys up front, so you can just pick your way to the front pretty easily. But whenever you're in pro racing, I mean, the guys back there in 16th, 17th, 18th are still really good. These are really good guys that are not even scoring points. So, yeah, it's a lot tougher to, if you do get a bad start, or to make passes compared to amateur racing. So it's definitely a big learning curve because the depth of skill is just so much deeper. But, yeah, I've been enjoying every step of it so far.
How tough has it been, one of those situations, you don't get a good start, you're sitting, say, like P16, amateur racing, the race is shorter, but you're picking off guys. There's that motivation. I'm getting two guys a lap, a guy a lap. There's races here, I'm sure you've sat in P15 or 16 for 4 laps and been like, what? I know you probably think I'm riding my heart out right now. Like, how do you keep the motivation, and do you keep seeing that number on the pit board just like, what the hell?
Yeah, it's definitely a thing. Like, in amateur racing, you nailed it on the head. I mean, you're passing guys every single lap, like multiple, every corner. I mean, and yeah, you just keep going, and you're like, okay, who's next? And in pro racing, when you'll get those gaps, sometimes you'll pass someone, and then they're so far ahead, you have to mentally like be willing to, okay, I have to push even though I may not make it there, or I may not pass them. And then you get there, and it's like, oh, it's only for 15th. And yeah, it's so much tougher, and you work so hard for every little position.
I talk about this one a lot. Something, of course, that is very unique to pro racing is you have a weekend like that. Like, I mean, Hangtown, you showed you had the speed when you were not. Were you top qualifier at Hangtown or second? You were top qualifier.
Top, yeah.
So, I mean, instantly people know, okay, Casey has the pace, and you've had some really good motos, but when you also have back-to-back races in the teens, deep into the teens, in a sense, you get your teeth kicked in. 6 days later, 7 days later, you're lining up and doing it again. Amateur racing, you don't do that. If you have a bad weekend, you go home, you might do a local race, but until the next regional or the next area, the next big race, you have 4-6 weeks to kind of gather yourself back up, put your head back on straight. Don't have that in pro racing.
Yeah, and I actually enjoy that. I mean, for instance, I had a bad weekend at Thunder Valley, and the good thing about it is you get to come back the next weekend or I think there was an off weekend after Thunder Valley and whatnot, but you get to come back the next weekend and get to prove yourself again. You get another chance. So with amateur racing, especially Loretta's, I mean, you have one bad moto. I mean, that's the biggest race of the year. Everyone puts so much pressure on it that you mess up one moto and you're gonna go home dreading that mistake for so long. So yeah, I like being able to race every weekend and being able to come back.
So mentally, you've taken basically the positive, the opposite approach, where I hear some guys kind of drown in that negativity of bad weekend. You go, okay, I can turn around and fix this again in a week. I have another shot.
Yeah, it's a new weekend every time you show up to a different race. So you just got to if it was a good weekend, I mean, you can build and just take that confidence into the next one. If it was a bad one, you just got to reset and just convince yourself it's a new weekend, it's a new day, and we're going to do what we can.
Jeff Walker, how's the season been so far?
Personally, on my own personal riding level, if I can like separate my, the results from my performance, it's been a great season. Unfortunately, everybody is going really fast out there. I don't know. I mean, obviously, I started racing in 2014, so I can't speak from before that. Yeah. But definitely, since I've been racing, this is the most gnarly the field has ever been. So it's kind of like it's changed. The mindset has changed from me wanting to like score points to now like just being out there with all those guys is just an honor, because like even the guys back in 30th to 40th are like gnarly dudes that I've seen get top 10s before. So it's a bit of a mental shift, but overall, I'm pretty happy with how things are going.
So I think you've learned a valuable lesson this year or something. Most people would look and go, hey, every bike's good for everybody. And there's a certain sense that in my opinion, there's no bad motorcycle, but you went through an interesting experience. You went out and hunted down 2 of the last gen, or actually only 1. You have 1 of the last gen gases because you love that chassis. You struggled a little bit on that, basically the KTM chassis that has come out since. How big of a difference has it been showing up at the Nationals this year, going back to something you knew you liked?
Yeah, I mean, dude, that's just been the biggest thing for me. Last year, it was just like I was never too sure with the setup, and so it was like on my way to the race, I would be thinking to myself like, okay, when I get to the track, maybe I should drop the forks in the triple clamp. Maybe I should try, going slower on the rebound. Maybe I should try this and try that. I wasn't even focused on actually racing or going fast. I was just focusing on like, how can I make my bike better before I even get on the track? And this year, it's like the first setting that TCD gave me on that old chassis, I'm just so comfortable on it. Like I'm not changing clickers, not changing sag or anything, and I can actually just focus on doing my actual job now. So it's been a big confidence thing for me, but it also is taking a while. Like motocross is so physical, but it's also very mental, and so it's taking a long time to like fully trust dirt bikes again. But we're getting there, and these last couple weeks have been really good, and it's all coming together at the perfect time. RedBud, obviously my hometown, feeling good.
How hard is it? Because I've noticed qualifying, I've seen you ride, and I know you are riding better and you're more comfortable, but I think because you spent a while being uncomfortable, the intensity doesn't always look like it's there in qualifying. I see you riding well, but I don't see you sending it, basically. How's it been trying to find intensity and trust the last couple rounds?
Yeah, it's been tough. I went through a pretty bad injury also at the same time that I was, struggling on the bike last year. So it's been a bit of a confidence hit, also a pretty big physical hit too. So basically, I've just been grinding out like really long motos on the new bike, trying to get my fitness back from the injury and just not really being able to do those motos last year. And I think in the preseason, I need to focus a little bit more on really sending and just doing like those 1-2 lap sprints. And I probably need to try and find like some local pro guys to ride with a little bit more, maybe travel outside of my little region that I normally stay in just to get that intensity up, because obviously you can feel fast and intense on your local track, but when you get to a pro national with Jet Lawrence and Chase Sexton, it's a little bit different. So yeah, I mean, we're getting there. I'm feeling better and better, but a little more intensity, and mainly you just have to be faster than some really, really fast guys in order to make it, and yeah, you got to get a little uncomfortable. So yeah, we'll try and get a little uncomfortable this weekend.